Hello and welcome to St. Martin's Episcopal Church of Grand Island's message for this week. This message was recorded on March 25th and taken from the Gospel reading for March 29th in Lent. This is from the Gospel of John, 11th chapter, verses 1 through 45. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's the story of the raising of Lazarus from the dead and the sisters Mary and Martha. What I'd like to focus on is from verse 23. Jesus said to her, Martha, "Your brother will rise again." And Martha said to him, "I know he will rise again on the resurrection in the last day." And Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. Those who believe in me, even though they die, will live. And everyone who lives and believes in me will never die. Do you believe this?" She said to him, "Yes, Lord, I believe that you are the Messiah, the Son of God, the one coming into the world." The reading goes on to the drama of Jesus wept at the tomb and the raising of Lazarus and the people coming to believe. This indeed is a hopeful message for us. It's at the very core of what it means to be Christian. That is the belief in the resurrection, the belief that we will defeat through Jesus even our own sickness and death. That all the fear and anxiety that is about this virus, about our future, about the economy, about our own personal death, all can be wrapped up and answered in Jesus' own words. I am the resurrection and life. If we want to know how to live our life, we know that we can follow Jesus. If we want to know how to defeat death as Jesus did, we can follow Jesus. We can be his disciples. Earlier today, I had a conference call with the bishop along with dozens and dozens of other clergy, I think over 80. And during that conference call that we have every week during this COVID-19 crisis, the bishop reminded us that the closing of our buildings and the caring for ourselves during this time and being a good role model in terms of staying safe and keeping social distance and not gathering outside of our homes, outside of our families, is good stewardship and good for our neighbor. And he reminded us to do our part in caring for our neighbor. So I passed that message along just because I thought it was such a good idea for the bishop to summarize in such a simple manner the rules and the problems and the medicine and the percentages and all the other anxieties that come of living during these days. But I also wanted to remind us that today, as we struggle, we find that we struggle with something much deeper than this virus or the next virus, because they will come and they have come, or the next tragedy in our own personal lives, or the next challenges, or for that matter, even the length of our life and the final days of our own personal life. Just like Lazarus, we will find ourselves someday in a tomb. And just like Lazarus, in our Christian soul, we believe that Jesus will stand upon our grave and raise us up on the last day, just as Martha said in the reading today. But Jesus reminds us these aren't beliefs of some future, vague future. but rather this is a belief that can be lived out today. Today in Martha's life, in the fact that he calls her to be a believer, that he is the way, the truth, and the life. And it isn't just something in the future, it's something to be lived right now. And so Jesus calls upon the Father to raise Lazarus. Lazarus comes out of the tomb, and all who are standing there who were once weeping begin to be stunned and eventually rejoice because Jesus has raised Lazarus from certain death and have brought him out of his own grave, out of his own tomb. Jesus is the life we seek. It's hard for us to keep focused on that when we find ourselves focused on bad news, restrictions, and the problems of our own material life here. Today, let us be reminded, as the 11th chapter of John reminds us, that Jesus moved through this life being focused on the power of God over the threats of this world, or as Psalm 23 calls it, the shadow of death and the rod and the staff that protect us. Either way, we know that God is there for us, and we must keep focused on that. He tells Martha that, he tells us that today, and he reminds us that even in the 21st century, we must find him to find our way in him and to find the life that we were intended to have, a life of holiness, a life this Lent of fasting, a life of peace and healing and the gospel of love. May you be able to find this Lenten season. May you be able to go beyond the frightening news and lean on the words of Jesus that tell you in such succinct phrases, I am the way, I am the life. May you find this Lent to be holy. May you overcome any fear or anxiety you have for yourself, for your loved ones, or for the neighbors, or for the world. And in doing so, may you find the peace that only can be surpassed by belief in Jesus Christ. May God bless you. May God bless the ministry of St. Martin's in the Field. And may God bless all of us.